Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Let's talk HR with HRMAB this Wednesday morning. Today we want to look a little bit at this whole question of work-life integration. What is that about? Joining me now to talk more about that is Celia Collymore, who's a Senior Project Manager with Beige Infusion. And with her is Atoya Hines, Membership and Activities Chair with HRMAB. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for asking. I hope both of you are well as well. I want to start with you, Atoya. We know about work-life balance. We're talking now about work-life integration. What's the difference and what is the definition of work-life integration?
Hi, good morning, Pearson. Good morning, viewers. So, work-life integration is really balancing or really merging, right? Work and life. Gone are the days, Pearson, where we could have separate the two. If COVID taught us anything, it is that, and companies want to increase productivity, persons want to be more accessible to businesses, and businesses want to really keep generating that interaction between the customer and the employees, right? So, in order to really keep that going, employees are finding it difficult to really separate. Okay, we're here from 9 to 5. We're not answering any telephone calls after 5 o'clock. We're not logging into any conferences after 5 o'clock. That line is now crossed. That line is now blurred. So work-life balance is meeting the employees where they are and actually having that balance to their work life. And what does that really look like, Pearson? That really looks like having flexible time within the organization, really having breaks for persons to really have time to really collect their children, pick up and drop off from school on mornings, right? Creating a good mental health for employees is very important, and that is what work-life integration is really all about within the organization.
I can hear bosses saying, "You kidding me? Listen to me. I am not about allowing them to do what they want to do when they want to do what they want to do. This is about my business and my profits." So how do we strike that balance so that we do integrate the reality of the humanity of the individual with the success of this business? How do we do this?
And that is reasonable, Pearson. That is absolutely reasonable. I would have mentioned just now that the line is, before it was a blurred line, but now that line is gone. There's no longer, turning off from work at 5 o'clock, right? But if you want to attract the most valuable talent pool, right, and really retain your best employees, then you have to look at flexibility. Then you look at, because you want to keep increasing your productivity, and let me be honest, you want to reach your bottom line. You want to increase those profits for your organization. You want to have that competitive advantage, Pearson. Right? So that is what is really in it for the employer. So when an employer offer flexibility to employees, then what do you think happens, Pearson? When an employer begins to care about their employee, right? And the employee feels that they care about their family, they care about their having to go and collect their children from school, they care about their having to go and take time off to really assist with a family situation without really sticking to that, okay, you have to be back from lunch in an hour time, or you have to be at work and clock in from 9 to 5. What do you think happens, Pearson?
That's a relationship question here, because if I feel that you're good to me, I can be good to you. And if I don't feel that you are going to be good to me, I will probably not be as good to you as you would expect me to be. But that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, everyone asks, what's in it for me? When I give up, what am I getting in return, having emptied myself in that kind of way? And that's where I come to you, Celia. What's important here so that we understand this relationship as we seek to work on work-life integration?
Thank you, Pearson. Work-life integration for me is really team effort, where employer and employee, they come to that level of understanding what work-life integration is, and then being able to incorporate it into their day-to-day. So an employer creates the culture of the organization. If you hire me today, you're able to communicate with me what work-life integration looks like for both persons. And as employees understand the culture of the organization, they also have the opportunity to share with the employer what their needs are, yes, and what their work style is. And both parties then come together and create a plan of action where now employer can be satisfied and employee can be satisfied within the workspace. And persons all to me, but how do you do it? Start with the conversation, but then you start to create programs and activities where the employer is giving you what you need, you are doing what you need to do within the organization as well, so that all of you can move forward with satisfaction and you're creating that healthy, it has to be a healthy work life integration. There are 24 hours in a day, and when you think about your work day, work is a critical element of life. Life encapsulates everything, but work is a critical element, and it also supports you in terms of you surviving and thriving in your day to day and within the marketplace. So it's important that while you are at work, you are doing good work, and even if you have challenges within your home life, it's important that you share that information with your employer so that they can support you on the journey as well. I say to people all the time, you have to bring your whole self to work. You can't leave your personal life at work. And if you're having challenges, it's important then for the employer to know so that then they can support you on the journey. So work-life integration is important. It's really blending your personal and your professional life and finding ways where you can integrate the elements, but you can do it efficiently and you can do it productively.
I hear it when it says, I'm coming to the office and I'm bringing my full self. Get that. But when I leave the office, I'm not bringing that office self home with me. I need my space. I need my moment to breathe and just do me. How does the work integration affect the individual at home? And I want to hear from you, Atoya, on this one. How do I take work home? Don't I need to cut off at some point and say, this is me now. This is my time.
Absolutely, Pearson. It's important to set boundaries, not just for the employer, but for the employees itself. Without setting boundaries, you can have high levels of stress. And we all know that when we have high levels of stress, we cannot function properly. So it affects our mental health and it affects our physical health. But going back to a point that Celia would have made, in setting boundaries, you can say, Pearson, I'm not sure if you are a morning person or you may be an afternoon person. So in setting boundaries, you can have that conversation with the employer, with your HR team. And this is usually advice to be had, at the time of hiring. And be honest with your employer. I have a child at school, or I am pursuing studies. I can be available before hours. I can start my day maybe at 6 o'clock in the morning as opposed to the traditional 8 o'clock. That way I am more productive and I am giving the employer the time that they actually need, and then I will need to take a break because it is encouraged more so than ever now, Pearson, especially with COVID and always being connected to technology, that you take breaks in between your job because it just reduces your stress level. You can take a break, you can have maybe exercise class in there, to really de-stress and then connect to work again. You may be an afternoon person, so you decide that you speak to your employer and you can see if you can sign in a bit later in the afternoon. That is when you're more productive. So it is a win-win situation for the employer and the employee. They are both getting what they need, and that is what work-life balance is about. We often find, Pearson, that in the absence of work-life balance, we speak about diversity, inclusion, and equitable work environments. And without work-life balance, it is a bit skewed at times. It is skewed in the sense that sometimes the platform is not level for all employees, especially employees who may have to, who may have children, who may have to take care of an alien family member. Yes?
Mm-hmm. As life goes, there has to be a degree of flexibility, a bit of give and take. Because while I may have sat with my HR and said, I'm a morning person, so don't schedule meetings after 2 o'clock. I would want to be free in the afternoon to do this or that. There are times when life happens and the employer says, employee, I would like for you now at 2 o'clock to do X, Y, and Z. Should I say to them, we had an agreement. We had an agreement. You know who I am. And we're talking about life integration here. And because you know who I am, you should understand because I ain't doing it. Should that be the attitude generally of an employee having had struck this work-life balance and integration?
Absolutely not, Pearson. That's what is important to have communication.
Yes.
Yes. So obviously you have that ongoing communication, you have that check-in, and you create that culture within your organization that is an open door culture that we can have those discussions so that the employees will make the necessary arrangement. So you can have different type of plans. You can have an individual plan or you can have a group plan where you can go in and you can organization actually say, okay, this is a plan we set up for our employees who have parents or employees who have who are pursuing higher levels of studying. Well, this is not fixed. It's not fixed. And we allow you flexibility. We want you to understand where we're coming from. So not every time you may be able to accommodate you, and from time to time you may be required to, to step out of that. Mm-hmm. It is a conversation. It is creating that organization culture that makes it a happy place to work, because once employees are happy, they produce. And to be honest, person, that is what an organization wants. At the end of the day, they want productivity. They want to reach their targets. They want to be that employer of choice. They want to have that strong brand reputation, and they also want to have that competitive advantage.
And for a lot of people, that is bottom line, money, processes, and so forth, not people. And so how do we, Celia, strike this? Because it's a cultural shift that we're talking about when we talk about work integration here, work-life integration. So how do we begin this cultural shift within organizations, and who takes the lead on this?
Yes, so it starts with at the top. So leadership having the conversation with HR and then being able to funnel that information down to the employee. But it's also important to get the feedback from the employee as to what are the things that they would like to know, like to learn, like to do. So it becomes a team effort, even though leader and in HR, they're going to be the persons who will be streamlining the process. So when it comes to, let's say you're having conversations within the workplace and many of your employees are having health related problems or injury, it's important then to create a wellness program. And what does that look like for the employer? What does that look like for the employee? What are the things that we're doing daily, weekly, monthly, yearly to make sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone is satisfied within the workplace? So striking that balance, I would say in that integration is important, but you have to have that plan of action. So like I mentioned, whether it is the wellness programs, whether it's a flexible work arrangement, whatever the needs of the employee is, the employer should be able to create that program that satisfies the efforts of the employee. And once employees receive the things that they need, it's important that they produce effectively within the workplace.
Change takes time. Change requires time. And so for all HR practitioners and bosses listening today, it takes time. It starts, however, with that conversation and discussion and with the will and intent and with the truth to carry it through over time, so you see the change over time. Be patient enough to allow that change to happen over time. We're asking for a change of habit, and change of habit requires a replacement of a habit with a good habit, not to simply stop, but to do something right better the next time around. And so this is a conversation that definitely needs to continue, this work-life integration that we're talking about. If we're going to become world-class, as we're required to be, then we've got to start thinking and working world-class so that the habit becomes long-term. I want to thank both of you really for engaging in such an interesting discussion. You all know this is my favorite part of the Wednesday morning, Talking HR with HRMAB. I want to encourage as many of you as possible to go onto the website, hrmab.org.bb. You can get to know more, interact with these ladies and other human resource professionals as well. Membership brings benefits. I keep saying that to you, so consider memberships as well. I know Atoya is very keen on that. So contact HRMAB and see how you can become a member and you benefit from the wealth of experience that come from these folks at HRMAB. Thanks, both of you, Celia Collymore and Atoya Hines, for joining us this morning and for engaging with us on the whole question of work integration. It's more than simply work-life balance, but work-life integration as we build out a new society. All the best. Thank you.
Morning, morning, morning.